The silence of the seminary was a sacred thing, a presence Samuel Orji had learned to wear like a second skin. It was a silence of venerable parchment and whispered Latin, a world away from the relentless symphony of sirens and shouting that defined his childhood. He had a calm spirit, eyes that held wisdom beyond his years, and a voice that stirred hearts whenever he sang hymns in church. Everyone believed he was destined for the priesthood. Indeed, Samuel had already entered the seminary, where he spent years studying theology, praying daily, and preparing for ordination. For 6 years, he had believed this quiet peace was his future. Then the phone call came, and the voice on the other end, freed and desperate, shattered it all. In the city where 1,000 stories unfolded on every block, the Orji's family was a quiet, desperate tale of a single miracle. For 17 long years after marriage, they have waited, prayed, and spent money on doctors and even herbalists, all in desperate search of a child. When Samuel finally came, it was considered a miracle. Peter and Sarah Orji's story was one of silent apartments and aching absence until it became a story of one boy, Samuel. They built their entire world around him. His mother clung to him with a fierce devotion. His father shielded him as though the world might snatch him away at any moment, a world he eventually left for the quiet order of the seminary. But the city never truly lets its children go, and it called him home with the one sound he could not ignore, his father's dying breath. One rainy afternoon, a call came in from home. His mother's voice trembled on the phone. "My son, you are our only hope. Your father is weak. Our family name has no heir. We cannot let the lineage of our ancestors end with us. Please come home, my dear son. Leave the seminary. You must marry and bear children. Think of us. Think of your father's name. Think of your mother's tears." Samuel was torn. A plea tore through his heart. He had given his heart to God's service, but his parents' plea weighed heavily on him. In African tradition, the cry of one's parents is sacred, and ignoring it can invite curses upon a child. That night he prayed harder than ever, his pillow soaked with tears. He threw himself into prayer and fasting, begging God to speak, to direct him. But heaven remained silent. After many sleepless nights, finally with a heavy heart, Samuel packed his few belongings. He went to see the rector of the seminary and told him everything, and then he left. The city, when he returned to the small familiar house in the neighborhood, felt like an assault. The blaring horns of buses, the loud animated arguments from the street vendors, the thick mix of dust, diesel fumes, and the food aroma from the restaurant. It was a jarring chaos compared to the sacred silence and orderly hymns of his chosen life. His father, Peter Orji, the man who could fix any wrench or mechanical damage, was lying shrunken in a hospital bed in their living room. Cancer. The word hung in the air, a malevolent ghost. The diagnosis was recent, the prognosis brutal. Samuel, his father, rasped, his hand still surprisingly strong, gripping Samuel's. His mother, Sarah, stood behind him, her tears a silent waterfall. "We need to talk." It began not as a demand, but as a story he'd heard 1,000 times, now retold with a new, devastating finality. The years of empty silence in this very apartment, the desperate prayers to God, the fertility treatments that drained their savings and their hope, the baby that never was, room that became a storage space for other people's dream. Then, the miracle, you. His father's eyes, clouded with pain, found his. "I'm not going to make it, son. And when I go, I can't go knowing that I'm leaving your mother completely alone. I can't go knowing that the Orji's name, our little struggle, our little story, ends with me in this bed." The persuasion was a quiet, relentless siege. It was not about God or faith, they said. They were proud, so proud of the man of God he was becoming. It was about family. It was about duty. It was about being the only thread, holding the tapestry of their lives from unraveling completely. Be a good man in the world, Sam, his father pleaded on his last good day. You don't need a collar to serve God. Serve him by taking care of your mother. Serve him by building a life. Give her grandchildren. Let her have something to hold on to after I'm gone. He left the seminary. The letter of withdrawal was the hardest thing he'd ever written. His spiritual director, a kind-eyed man named Father Franklin, had hugged him tight. God's path is not always straight, Samuel. Sometimes it leads us home so we can learn a different kind of love. His father died 2 months later. The silence at home was different from the seminaries. This was a silence of absence, of grief, of a stopped clock. Months later, Samuel kept his promise. He took over his father's plumbing service company. He cared for his mother, whose grief was a deep, quiet ocean she was slowly drowning in. And then, on a Tuesday, fixing a leaky sink in an old apartment building, the tenant, an elderly woman named Mrs. Grace, was complaining about a thumping in a wall. Samuel, thinking it was a trapped pigeon or a faulty pipe, he caught a small neat access panel behind a heavy oak bookcase. There was no pigeon. He made another cut down below the previous one. Instead, his flashlight beam illuminated a small rusted metal strongbox shoved deep between the studs. He pulled it out, dust raining down like ancient snow. Mrs. Grace had no knowledge of it. Must have been the old bastard who lived here before me, she cackled. A rummy. Probably hid his bottle in there. You keep it, dear. I don't want his junk. That night, in the light of his kitchen, he pried the box open. It wasn't bottles. It was a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon. A faded photograph of a laughing woman with dark eyes and a small leather-bound journal. And beneath it all, nestled in velvet, was a single, flawless diamond necklace. It glittered with a cold, secret fire. His heart hammered against his ribs. This was no heirloom. This was treasure. He opened the journal. The handwriting was frantic, slanted. April 12th, 1988. The job is set. The diamond necklace. The old man's security is a joke. Marty says it's our last score, enough to disappear. April 14th, it went bad. So bad. Blood on the floor. More than we meant. We split the whole. My share. The centerpiece. The eye of the dawn. They'll be looking for it. For us. Have to stash it. Go to ground. Samuel stared at the diamond, the eye of the dawn. It stumbled out of one sacred silence and into a profane one, a silence that had held the decades-old secret of theft and murder. His first instinct was to call the police, but the image of his mother, finally showing a flicker of life, planning a future again, stopped him. This money, it could change everything. A house, security, medical care. It could be the answer to his family's prayers, just as he had been. The bitter irony tasted like ash in his mouth. He was torn, trapped between the man he was raised to be and the man's circumstances were forcing him to become. He hid the box under his bed, the diamond burning a hole in his conscience. The next day, a man in an impeccably tailored suit was waiting outside his apartment. He had silver hair, cold blue eyes, and a smile that didn't reach them. Samuel Orji, the man said, his voice smooth as oil. My name is John Lucas. I represent interested parties. We understand you may have come into possession of something that doesn't belong to you. A family heirloom of sorts. We'd like it back. Samuel's blood ran cold. How could they know so fast? He played dumb, his heart thundering in his ears. John's smile never wavered. A shame. Perhaps you'll think on it. The people I represent, they have very long memories, and they don't like loose ends. The threat hung in the air long after the black town car pulled away, so that night as he lay awake he heard it, a soft scraping at his front door. Not a key, a pick. He froze, his body screaming with adrenaline. He saw the knob turn slowly, silently. They were here. Samuel Orji, the former seminarian, the dutiful son, slid out of bed. His hand didn't reach for a rosary. It closed around the cold, heavy steel of his father's wrench from the toolbox by the bed. He stood in the dark, his back against the wall. The weapon raised. The door began to swing open, a sliver of ominous hallway light cutting into the room. His life of quiet sacrifice was over. A new terrifying chapter was beginning, and he was no longer a man of God, but a man with something to protect, caught in a web of crime and consequence that was decades in the making. The path to salvation, he realized with a jolt of fear, was now a tightrope over hell itself. This is only the beginning. What Samuel found is about to find him. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and you want to know how the story ends, like, share, and please continue subscribing to this channel. Don't forget to turn on the bell notification icon so that once the other part of this video is posted, you will be the first to be notified. Thanks for watching.